Hi there and welcome back. My name is Sheldon McLeod, and this is Thinking Out Loud. This is the community we're building together to talk about important things that happen within our area, our community, our province. Sometimes it's a broader picture, a bigger picture than that. And with Remembrance Day happening on Friday, I know that schools in our region do a lot to help. It's always controversial. Should the kids be in the classroom on November 11th? Well, I think they should be at the cenotaph. I think they should be in person, remembering, lest we forget. And they do have events at their schools. All of this to say education is important. Lifelong learning is something I really strive for. And I know that someone who has been very much a part of community and life here in Nova Scotia since she moved here from Ontario. I will be putting that out there because she's here. She's a Maritimer. Studio Network. And this is a series of Canadian aviation series partnered with the Royal Canadian Air Force Foundation. And all of this to say, Erin Trafford is here with me now. Erin Trafford and the Story Studio Network. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's been a wild ride.
And tell me about this idea that you had to produce podcasts to help businesses connect with listeners and their customers. All of this, you've been so successful as an award-winning broadcaster and now as an award-winning, I'll call you an award-winning entrepreneur. So congratulations on that. Where did this all start?
Oh, it all started. It's funny. I think I have now been an entrepreneur almost longer than I was in a newsroom, or it's almost equal now. I've done both. So it all started when I realized that organizations, businesses, they were all vying for the same time slot on the same news networks. So with digital media evolving and technology evolving and it becoming easier, I was able to blend my strategic brain and my consulting business with my media business. And Story Studio Network was born. And so we help folks from all different levels do what we do. Basically become a newsroom in a box. We help you produce a podcast, create your digital strategy. And definitely, we certainly focus on audio on demand. So this new project that's launching this week is one that I'm just so proud of this one, Sheldon. I'm so proud of this one.
I really have to say that putting yourself out there and to do so in a digital environment where we know so much of what happens around us is this fire hose of information. And here we are trying to navigate through the minefield, try to get deeper than the headlines, try to figure out what the heck's happening. And you've made this an art. Congratulations on that. I'm just so envious of how well you are at being Erin Trafford. And this Story Network has the incomparable Dave Trafford also involved. Dad to you.
Yes, Dad to me. We can take it offline how funny it is that we came back around from producing radio series in our basement when I was, 4 and 5 years old with an old microphone and a tape deck to now, pushing whatever age we're pushing and being business partners, growing Canada's fastest growing podcast network. I actually take full responsibility for him leaving his job in radio. So all of his listeners who are mad that he's no longer in traditional radio can send me the hate mail. But I brought him in and we're working together, and it's kind of cool. I call him DT when we're in a business setting because I started calling him Dad, and then our clients would call him Dad, and it got weird.
I don't think Dave would have a problem with that. Okay, so let's talk a bit about someone we both have in common in our past, and Jen Casey, Captain Casey. I tell the story about when Operation Inspiration happened, and she was the face of the Canadian Snowbirds team. She was the media relations person, and I sent her a note and I said, Captain, it's so great to see you succeeding. And she said, wait, I can get you a pilot for an interview, but I don't want to. I want to talk to you. I want to be on the radio station where we both worked. And you knew her before I knew her. But what a dynamo, what an amazing human being, what a person who just loved to give. And she's still giving. And tell me about why she has to be or is a part of this project that you have for Remembrance Week.
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit and just say that the show that's dropping this week is a special series. It's a 4-part series. We're working with the Royal Canadian Air Force Foundation. And they are ramping up to celebrating 100 years of the Royal Canadian Air Force, which will happen in 2024. So they came to us and they said, we've got this crazy idea about digging in and telling stories of Canadian aeronautic and aviation history of what's going on currently, and then of the dreamers and the innovation and Canada's role in that. And how can we do that in podcast form? So of course, DT and I kind of jumped on this and said, there's tons of stuff we can do. So we started with this 4-part series, and very quickly, the lens turns to things like Amelia Earhart. It turns to things like the first episode we dropped today about William Barker, who is Canada's most celebrated, decorated, rather not celebrated. He is the most decorated, but not celebrated serviceman. And I learned so much. And then all of a sudden, you got to talk about the snowbirds, and then Jen comes up. And as we're producing these shows, I kept thinking, I'd get these little, I call them God winks, like little, a song that she'd love would play, or I'd see somebody out there in a Mooseheads jersey, or I would, hear a hip, like something would happen that would remind me of Jen. And I kept thinking, man, like, I am having fun producing this series, but Jen would have been a better producer than I am. This should have been her show to produce. So I'm thrilled because this whole thing celebrates people like Jen, who are courageous, who do things that, you kind of think like, whoa, like they are getting into pretty much, a fancy tin can that flies and doing really cool things. So I'm just, I spent a lot of time thinking about Jen and our friendship and her legacy. And it's been a privilege. And this project is just starting. This is just kind of the opening chapter.
Well, and I can't wait to find out more about that when you're able to say more about that. And I happened to be at the Air Show Atlantic when they made the they memorialized Jen through the naming of the Media and Photography Centers. Now, the Captain Jen Casey Memorial Media Center. And you know what? It couldn't have been a better fit. Couldn't have meant more to the people involved because of her passion for everything. For everything. And you have a similar passion. And it was something that I heard in the context of interested is interesting. I'm sure you've heard that quote from other people that we've worked with. And you really do help engage people to make them interested in telling you stories. That's a real talent too.
Is it? Well, yes, thank you. I don't know how I do it. I think I'm just, what I've learned through building the network and working with organizations like RCAF and others is, you're right, that's what I do. I come at everything with this deep sense of curiosity, and it's working. It's working because I think that's really what we're craving is, through curiosity comes connection, comes more inquiry, comes better questions. And in the case of this RCAF miniseries, I mean, I learned something I became an aviation nut just producing these 4 episodes. It's like,
and as you say, they are available for on-demand listening anytime. And where do you? Okay, people who don't listen to podcasts on a regular basis.
Yeah.
How do you share that? How do you explain that to people who may be going, well, I know it's something to do with the internet, but I don't understand what.
Teach me how to internet, Erin. Yes. Well, the easiest thing to do is to go to storystudionetwork.com and you can check out all the shows that we have. Click through. It'll bring you right to the player. The other thing that you can do is head to, actually, you know what? That's probably just the best thing to do. Go to storystudionetwork.com and I'll give you the link. What I will tell you is that as we're having this conversation, it is the 7th. So we've just released the first part of the 4-part series. We're going to be dripping 1 part every single day up until Friday. So lots of opportunity.
How has this been for you? I know you were on the television news and you made some choices and being a public person in a public space, and then you make a decision that's very personal, very private, but people see you. Or then don't see you. This evolution for you as a young mom, as someone who has a partner in her life, who has goals and dreams and ambitions, this part where you're at right now. How is Erin Trafford doing with all this?
Oh, Erin Trafford's doing amazing. Erin Trafford gets to sleep in. Erin Trafford gets to wear mom buns more often than not. Erin Trafford gets to be a mom in the best possible way. I mean, those are the most important things. And we said, I get to work with my dad. I get to do this storytelling thing. I get to do this journalism thing. I get to do this connecting thing on my own terms. And in a way that I think truly makes people feel good about the content that they're consuming. And when we built the network, it really came with a mission statement that, we don't work with, I don't think I can say this, we don't work with a-holes. And we don't tell stories. We don't rant for no reason. Yeah. This is about mission-driven storytelling. And, thank you for telling me that it looks like I'm doing an awesome job, because some days I feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
No,
we're just building the plane while we're flying it, to keep the analogy going.
We've kept through that in the last few years too. But again, to take the time to celebrate, remember, and to honor the men and the women, part of our aviation history. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that. People can listen now. Go to your website, and again, it is what's the URL? StoryStudioNetwork.com. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm still super present on Instagram as well. And my kids are there too, so find me there. I'd love to hear from you. Erin Trafford, continued success, and thank you so much for connecting. I really missed you. Thank you for this.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, pal.